Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Khatun Azra. I am so delighted to welcome all of you here. This is another of the series of events that we present, that we, the Alliance for the Promotion of Urdu Studies and the South Asian Languages Program at NYU have been presenting for several years now. This is probably 9th or 10th in the series. And basically our aim has always been to invite the community into this academic setting and talk to them or have people talk to them about poetry and literature and Urdu culture. And so it is with great pride that I say that we have been able to do this successfully, and this is the first time that we see so many people here, and I thank you. We are very fortunate today to have with us Dr. Azra Raza, Azra Jani, who is going to speak to us about Ghalib. The topic is vast. Ghalib is a personality that can only be touched briefly here and there. And we all are fortunate to be here to listen to her talk about her take on Ghalib. Azra Raza, Dr. Azra Raza, is the Chan Soon Shaw Professor of Medicine and Director of Myelodysplastic, sorry about that, syndrome. This is the second time I'm making mistakes in our presence at Columbia University. Some of Dr. Raza's awards include the first Lifetime Achievement Award from APNA, Award in Academic Excellence twice, 2010 and 2007, from Dagana Woman of the Year Award from Safir-e-Pakistan, and the Hope Award in Cancer Research in 2012. Dr. Raza has been named as one of the 100 Women Who Matter by Newsweek Pakistan in March 2012. And just now, Zeba Heather tells me that there is the JS Bank Recognition Calendar 2018. So why is this wonderful, accomplished oncologist here talking about Ghalib? This is a question that she will answer. I know the answer to that, almost, but she will answer it herself. But I just want to say that we gather here to honor the wonderful work that she does in medicine, and also to honor her interest and love for Urdu literature, and for all of us who are gathered here, and to celebrate this great, absolutely wonderful, great classical poet of Urdu, Mirza Asadullah Khan Ghalib. I present to you Dr. Azra Raza.
Thank you so much, Tyra. Thank you, Gabby. Both of you are doing amazing work at NYU, serving Urdu, serving the community, serving humanity in general through promotion of some amazing programs. I feel very greatly honored to be here today. The title of my talk is going to be Ghalib, Apprehension of Loss in Elegiac Ghazal. The first thing I'd like to say is that this book, which has just come out in paperback, initially was released under the title Ghalib, Epistemologies of Elegance in 2009. And this is a joint effort between me and my dearest friend, Professor Sara Suleri-Goodyear. Sara was supposed to be here today with me, and she had promised she's going to make it, but I'm so sorry that at the last minute, for health reasons, she couldn't. But she will come back. Now there are two women I have come across in my life that I value, honor and hold in the deepest respect more than anyone else I have ever met. And those two women are Qurratulain Heather and Sarah Suneri. And when Sarah and I talked this morning and she told me she's not coming, I read the sher for her, which I always read for Annie Appa also. वो तो इस फन का खुदा है यारो, उसको हर बात रवा है यारो. It's, if she doesn't come, that's Sarah. But I want everyone to know that now this paperback edition has been released under the title A Tribute to Ghalib, 21 Ghazals Reinterpreted. The idea here is that Sarah was a professor of English at Yale all her life and has a remarkable Western sensibility with which she can interpret Eastern texts because she straddles both. I have been obsessed with Ghalib since I was a kid because my father is from Lucknow, mother was from Aligarh, and part of their culture was very much an oral culture where children were taught to memorize Ghalib, Iqbal and other classic poets. We both felt in many conversations that the younger generation can speak Urdu. Many of them can't even speak, but those who can speak Urdu can barely understand the complexities of the language. So that the language has remained somewhat domesticated. It's like Gharelu Zaban. But they are unable to rise to the appreciation of the more profound meanings of our tehzeeb and as interpreted through the language. So, for example, Ghalib was asked once who he appreciated in his time, and his answer was Momin. And he was asked, okay, give us an example, and Ghalib read this sher, कि न कुछ शौकी चली बादे सबा की. Professor Azra Alvi is sitting here, who is a Ghalib scholar, Anne-Marie Chemel's student, and she read the other, pointed to the other sher which is very famous, तुम मेरे पास होते हो गोया जब कोई दूसरा नहीं होता. But this second time, Ghalib reads this sher, न कुछ शौकी चली बादे सबा की और बिगड़ने में भी जुल्फ उसकी बना की. Wow. That twist, बिगड़ने में भी जुल्फ उसकी बना की. This, now there's nothing that is too deep and or difficult to understand, yet unless you are at home with the language and with its use of such words as bana ki, which means so many different things, you wouldn't be able to appreciate it. So both Sarah and I felt that it would be an important thing to try and address our concerns to the younger generation. Now, the translation we did of Ghalib's poetry can be questioned because everyone has their own translations. But what we wanted to do was that our interpretation of the sher should complement the extant literature on Ghalib. What is existing now is great literature. I mean, कैसे Ghalib के स्कॉलर्स इस वक्त मौजूद हैं. शम्सुर रहमान फारूकी साहब हैं, गोपी चंद नारंग साहब हैं, कौन एक से एक बड़े नाम. But we dared to do this because we felt that we are shagirds, we are not ustads, neither of us are scholars of Urdu at all. So instead of claiming authority on Ghalib right up front, we abjure authority. We want to take a niche and joy in the text itself, in the beauty of the sher as a reader. So I'm not going to speak to you about Ghalib as a scholar. I'm going to speak to you about Ghalib as a reader, and then try to explain some of it for our younger generation. like Shehrzad is here, Zaib is here. These are the people we are addressing. Now remember, most of great art, it's really born of great terror, great isolations, great challenges and inhibitions. And the purpose of great art is that it can elevate without comforting. And that is what Ghalib has done. Because why do we have to talk about Ghalib today in 2017? You know, when I was crossing over and coming from the east side, all the traffic was stopped because our president was passing through. And I was thinking that what a strange thing. And actually he waved to me from his limousine. I had to be standing there. It was something I couldn't help. I was thinking, where am I going? I'm going to be speaking about one of the greatest minds that the subcontinent has produced. And I'm standing in the greatest country in this world. And the leader of the free world is passing from here. And what a difference. He is exactly the reason why we need Ghalib today. Ghalib is mystical, he is metaphysical, political. Ghalib is postmodern. In his thinking, he spins theories and meaning, he extracts beauty. He challenges dogma, he cracks enigmas, and he annoys orthodoxy at every level. That's who Ghalib is. Ghalib represents what Theodore Adorno said, the pessimism of the intellect combined with the optimism of will. He understands the gravity of what existence is all about. But he combines it with जो दिमाग और फिक्र की शहंशाहियत है उसके साथ मिला देना उसको. Basically, people talk about various dors of Urdu poetry, various periods. But basically, to me, the period that starts with Wali Dakni and goes through Mir and Sauda and Mir Hassan and comes to rest with the likes of Zauq and Momin and Ghalib and Anis and Dabir is a continuum. It is a continuum and something we can rightly be really proud of. Before I go on, I want to say that remember, art needs patronage. Art will not grow on trees. We have to patronize our artists. And in that period, art was being patronized dramatically in Delhi by the Mughals and in Lucknow by the noblemen and the kings of Awadh. So in Delhi, you see that ghazal reaches its fabulous heights. Whereas the rulers in Lucknow are all Shias. So they are encouraging Marsiya and Qasida. And Marsiya reaches the peak of eloquence in that period with Anis and Dabir. Now, I want to say a couple of words about ghazal before we go to what Marsiya is. So ghazal is a specific art form, and because most of you know what it is, but there are a few guests here tonight, this afternoon, it's important for them to appreciate that ghazal is a particular art form in which two lines are repeated, two lines constitute in a repetitive form, except that the couplets are autonomous. They don't have to connect to each other. So one couplet could be talking about the universe, and the second one about alienation or about loss or grief of the beloved. So they're basically autonomous couplets, usually 5 to 15 in length. And there is a refrain, there is a rhymic meter in it, etc., etc. They're very traditionally a very well-defined genre is ghazal. Now, on the other hand, marsiya, which is elegy, in Urdu literature, marsiya has become almost entirely associated with Karbala, the tragedy through which the entire family of our Prophet, most of the male members, were ruthlessly slaughtered. And so, marsiya has become a synonym for remembering that event. Now, the two greatest marsiya writers in Lucknow are Dabir and Anis. Do you know that Mirza Dabir wrote 1,18,000 sher, 118,000 couplets. Anis, who was his contemporary, Anis uses 100,000 words in Urdu, more than anyone else has ever used. The Urdu that we are speaking today has reached us directly, not because of Ghalib, but because of Anis. Anis and Dabir, because they were always being pitted against each other, so one would say a marsiya and the second one would answer. Anis wrote a marsiya of 50 stanzas, and each stanza is 6 lines in a marsiya. He wrote a marsiya of 50 stanzas which did not have a dot. It's called ghair manqoot, no nukta. In response to it, Dabir wrote one of 101 stanzas. I happen, because I love marsiyas, and I happen to have this book, the ghair manqoot marsiya of Anis and Dabir. Now there's just no nukta here. What an amazing miracle. How can you write? I can't write a single line without using a letter that has a nukta or not. Dabir, so the reason I'm going on and on about Anis and Dabir and about Lucknow and Delhi is because now in this background you will see how Ghalib emerges as a refreshing voice, is a completely fresh voice. The point I'm trying to make is that after Anis and Dabir, who would dare to write anything in marsiya? Because they were just too good. Dabir represented the more majestic form. किस शेर की आमद है कि रन कांप रहा है, रन एक तरफ चरख़ कोहन कांप रहा है, और रुस्तम का बदन ज़ेर कफन कांप रहा है, हर कसरे सलातीन ज़मन कांप रहा है, और शमशीर बकफ देख के हैदर के पिसर को जिब्रील लरसते हैं समेटे हुए पर को. ये दबीर की क़यामत की बात है. But Anis has a different लहजा. जंगल से आई फातिमा ज़हरा की ये सदा, उम्मत ने मुझको लूट लिया वाह मोहम्मदा. इस वक्त कौन हक़ रिफ़ाक़त करे अदा, है ये गम और वो आलम का मुक़्तदा. 1900 है ज़ख्म तने चाक चाक पर, ज़ैनब निकल हुसैन तड़पता है खाक पर. Munshi Asir was a great poet of his time in Lucknow. He had spent years constructing 15 or 16 long marsiyas. Maybe 20-25 years in which he wrote 16-17 marsiyas. He happened to attend the majlis of Anis, in which Anis recited Jab Qata ki मुसाफत शब आफ्ताब ने जलवा किया सहर के रुखे बेहिजाब ने. I know this entire Marcia by heart, by the way. It is a great piece. Munshi Asir was so overcome. He quietly went to his house. He picked up his 16 Marcias on which he had spent 25 years. He went to the river and he sank them. And he said, in front of Anis, no one should be able to write a Marcia. That was the place of Anis and the Veer in Lucknow. Mir Anis was writing 20th century Urdu in the 19th century. His language was unique because it represented a combination of the magnificence of Urdu with the simplicity and minimalism that you don't find anywhere else except with Anis. In fact, he himself says about the language, because he was brought up initially in Delhi, then moves to Lucknow. So he has mastered both the Delhi and the Lucknow styles. सच है ये तर्ज खास कोई जानता नहीं, हम आसमान से लाए हैं इन जमीनों को. हम आसमान से लाए हैं इन जमीनों को. This is another example of the kind of thing I was talking about that the younger generation needs to. So with this background, how difficult it would be to write a Marcia. And yet Ghalib manages to break through and make such an impression. It is unbelievable. We are only going to do 2 or at most 3 shares, probably just 2. And because I said that it is meant for younger people, I asked my daughter Shahrazad to recite those 3 shares that we are going to look at from what I call the elegiac ghazal of Ghalib. It is a ghazal which combines Marcia and ghazal together. He created a new genre, completely started a new thing. He has written 2 of them. लाजिम है कि देखो मेरा रास्ता कोई दिन और, तन्हा गए क्यों अब रहो तन्हा कोई दिन और. You know, Ghalib had 7 children. All of them died before they reached the age of 2. 7 children you lose. Then he takes his wife's nephew, Arif, and he adopts him. And Arif dies at 28 years of age, leaving behind 2 young children. Ghalib was completely heartbroken. Completely heartbroken. And in his heartbreak, he wrote this Marcia of Arif. But the one we are going to talk about is not this. The one we are going to talk about is what Shahrazad is going to. So just a background that Shahrazad, of course, is born and raised here in this country. But when she was 2.5, we found out serendipitously that she has a good memory. So my mother was visiting me and she said, "Bhai, iski yaaddaasht to tumse bhi behtar hai, isko sikhao." So the first sher I made her memorize was, and she is less than 3 years old, "Asad hum wo junu jola gadaye be saropa hain कि है सरपंज मिशगान आहू पुश्तखार अपना." Why? Because there is only until a certain age that you can correct their pronunciations. If you don't correct it when the children are little, वो घोड़ा कहेंगे, घोड़ा नहीं कह सकते. So अब आप इनका pronunciation देखिएगा जरा, सही करती हैं या नहीं. Sorry to put you on the spot, beta, but please come and recite the one we are supposed to talk about.
दर्द से मेरे है तुझको बेकरारी हाय हाय, क्या हुई जालिम तेरी गफलत शारी हाय हाय. तेरे दिल में करना था आशोबे गम का हौसला, तूने फिर क्यों की थी मेरी गम गुसारी हाय हाय. शर्म रुस्वाई से जा चुपना नकाबे खाक में खत्म है उल्फत के तुझ पे पर्देदारी हाय हाय
This is an elegy to the difference, for it simultaneously mourns the other's internment even as it grieves for the more abstract obliteration of a dynamic passion from the rituals of existence. There is no question that this ghazal articulates the implications of a specific death, but its mode of lamentation encompasses both the particularities and the universals embodied in an apprehension of loss. दर्द से मेरे है तुझको बेकरारी हाय हाय क्या हुई जालिम तेरी गफलत शियारी हाय हाय. Oh, you are now agitated over my pain. Oh, tormentor, where is your profession of indifference? क्या हुई जालिम तेरी गफलत शियारी. This elegy opens with an urgency that cannot be replicated in translation, underscored by the lamentation in the refrain, Hi, hi. The poet addresses a deceased beloved in the first person and in the present tense. Dard se mere hai tujhko beqarari, hi, hi. He chastises the other for offering an uncharacteristic expression of compassion and further asks what could have possibly happened to that tyrant's habitual neglect. The conventions of Urdu love poetry are both transgressed and are upheld in this sher. Because even though the beloved exhibits some unexpected empathy, Ghalib for once yearns to return to the classic posture where the lover is inevitably spurned all the time. Think of it, dard se mere hai tujhko beqarari, hi, hi. Kya hui zalim teri ghaflat shiari, hi, hi. The poet seeks to spare the other any kind of distress, especially when it is on his account. Even while expressing an ostensible complaint, the sher is resonant with the tenderness of newly experienced grief. Even, I want to say that this ghazal, in order to apprehend the cultural density of such an encounter, it is crucial to determine what is the role of tawaif, because Ghalib apparently wrote this for one of the only loves that we know about tangentially. He hints about it in some letters, and this is one, and she died at a young age, and this is the Marsiya he wrote. So now do you see the difference between the Marsiya that is being written in Lucknow and the Marsiya that Ghalib is writing? He tried that Marsiya, he gives it up after 3 stanzas, but when that anguish comes from his heart, he ends up creating a new genre. Even with this, so the courtesans were noted for being a purveyor of cultural and aesthetic dialogue. While physical beauty was certainly their domain, the artistry of language remained their real power of seduction.
Yeah, true.
In terms of a formal ghazal, the reader must struggle with an entirely novel concept of the other. Rather than presiding over the exquisite suffering of the lover, the beloved is instead represented as a source of solace. In a gesture of over-determined self-denial, Ghalib requests the courtesy of indifference so that he could be alone with his anguish. Reciprocity is prohibited. He endures compassion to protect his beloved from being a true participant in the moment of pain. Think what he's asking. Don't even grieve with me. Show me that neglect and save yourself. तेरे दिल में गर न था आशोब गम का हौसला, तूने फिर क्यों की थी मेरी गमगुसारी? हाय हाय. If your spirit could not endure grief's turbulence, why did you then turn compassion upon me? तूने फिर क्यों की थी मेरी गमगुसारी? हाय हाय. Here are posited two contradictory impulses. On the one hand, the beloved is not capable of facing suffering, but on the other, is able to sympathize with the lover's pain. Implication here is that the poet reprimands the other for an expression of empathy because he wishes to protect the beloved from distress. Ghalib wishes to be isolated in his own anguish because he has courage equal to desire. A test of endurance he does not wish to will upon the beloved. Thus, the very reprimand becomes an intense expression of love. तेरे दिल में गर न था आशोब गम का हौसला, तूने फिर क्यों की थी मेरी गमगुसारी? हाय हाय. And this posture of a rhetorical question, तेरे दिल में, as if the beloved is sitting in front of you. Now remember, the traditional marsiya is associated with history. So Ghalib takes his history and brings it into the present. That art form that has become entirely associated with an event that took place 1500 years ago, he brings it now into the present form. You can't call this a marsiya, you can't call it a ghazal, because remember I told you ghazal is autonomous, each sher is autonomous, stands by itself. This is one of his few ghazals which are ghazal-e musalsal, so each one will have the same thematic cohesion at least. And then he goes to the third one that Shahrazad read. Oh, this is a beautiful sher. I'll just read the sher. Umr bhar ka tune ghar paimane wafa bandha to kya? Umr bhar ka tune paimane wafa bandha to kya? You promised to stay with me for the rest of the life. Umr ko bhi to nahi hai paidari. Hai hai. Hai hai. And then शर्म, that Shahir just read, शर्म रुसवाई से जा छुपना नकाबे खाक में, खत्म है उल्फत की तुझ पे पर्देदारी. हाय हाय. You buried the shame of exposure, gravely vanishing into the ground. Yours was the ultimate gesture to curtain the privacy of love. शर्म रुसवाई से जा छुपना नकाबे खाक में, खत्म है उल्फत की तुझ पे पर्देदारी. The verse above yet again confounds typical expectations of what can transpire between the lover and the loved. Rather than being represented as an epitome of indifference, the other is transmuted into a figure of supreme protectiveness, who chooses the secrecy of burial in order to save their dynamic from humiliation of worldly disclosure. The poet is left in awe of this moment of interpretive self-sacrifice, because both have been curtained from the embarrassment of love into an entirely separate space of privacy. If the beloved has died, as conventional lovers do, from the woes of passion, the poet is still left spellbound by the love's ability to hide itself away from the eyes of the world. The reader remains as awestruck as the poet himself with the image of a beloved who will see the irrevocable reprieve into extinction rather than publicizing a conversation of amorous exchanges. शर्म रुसवाई से जा चुकना नकाबे खाक में, खत्म है उल्फत की तुझ पे पर्देदारी, हाय हाय. And I'll just read this last, my favorite. खाक में नाम पैमाने, खाक में नामों से पैमाने मोहब्बत मिल गई. खाक में नामों से पैमाने मोहब्बत मिल गई. उठ गई दुनिया से राहो रस्म यारी. दर्द से मेरे है तुझको बेकरारी. हाय हाय क्या हुई जालिम तेरी गफलत शियारी. हाय हाय तेरे दिल में गर न था शोबे गम का हौसला, तूने फिर क्यों की थी मेरी पर्देदारी गमगुसारी. हाय हाय शर्म रुसवाई से जा छुपना नकाबे खाक में, खत्म है उल्फत की तुझ पे पर्देदारी. हाय आप लोग इसको घर जाके 100 दफे भी पढ़ें, 100 दफे आपको एक इसमें नया मजा आएगा. And this is what Sarah and I tried to do, that it is, we may have made interpretations which are different than what others have done, but our mistakes are invitations into rereading of the text by you and by us over and over. So let us not say that Ghalib will ever have the last, that Ghalib's text will have a last translator or interpreter. No, we all owe it to ourselves. Like I said to you earlier, Professor Azra will be sitting here. Whenever she's in town, I have a mehfil with her at home because no one understands Ghalib. She teaches Ghalib at the depth that she does. And I'm daring to interpret Ghalib in front of her. How lovely to receive this. But the point is that because there is no end to everyone's personal interpretation, because the griefs are those griefs that are universal. The sorrows are universal. I'm going to now turn it over because the theme of this day has been apprehension of loss through elegiac ghazal. I think we are all in a elegiac mood, and that's the mood that my great colleague and friend Ustad Akhlaq Hussain is now going to further extend through the sitar. But before Ustad Akhlaq Hussain does that, how fortunate we are to have him amongst us. And remember, in the beginning I said art has to be nurtured. Art has to be patronized. And this is the artist that we need to patronize and to appreciate. There's a very famous story, by the way. I'll end with Dabir. I always end with Anis. Today I'll end with Dabir because Kaisra is sitting here. Naqvi Saab is sitting here, who will appreciate Dabir. But there's a very famous story that Nawab Rampur had great feasts that he would lay out. And they would be, for example, 100 types of rice on the dastarkhan and 50 types of different niharis cooked. You know, the variety was just unending, infinite. He had a cook for each dish who could make hundreds of dishes. So he had an Arab prince visiting, and they laid out this big dastarkhan, this feast, and there were 250 different types of rice present. You couldn't even take 1 spoon of each. But the prince became so impressed by this, he asked the Nawab, "Can I please take this cook with me?" Nawab said yes. And the king or prince offered an enormous sum of money to the chef and took him to Middle East with him. And a year later, The chef comes back in Lucknow. So people said, what happened? He didn't pay you enough? He said, no, he paid me a lot of money. So I said, why have you come back? He said, well, every day I would make these dishes, but there was no one to enjoy them because they just don't appreciate our kind of food. And they never touched it. So I lost my joy in cooking. And what's the point of staying if there's no one there to appreciate it? So you see, a chef making rice doesn't want to stay. We don't want to be those kinds of audiences. The akhlaq, we are going to loudly appreciate. And because he deserves it, because what he is single-handedly doing is so unique. So like I said, I will end with the one band of the beer, which is so beautiful. I will translate it for the younger people. But first, let me just read it. Naqash o naqsh, katib o khat, bani o bana. Naqash o naqsh, artist and what he has created, the art. Katib o khat, the writer and the written word. Bani o bana, the creator and what he has created. Naqash o naqsh, katib o khat, bani o bana. Budo nabud, zat o sifat, hasti o fana. Adam malak, zameen o falak, gard o kimiya. Dunya o deen, husud o qidam, banda o khuda. What is left? He is naming everything you possibly can, the elements, the chemicals in the universe, the physical, the metaphysical, dunya o deen, husud o qidam, the modern and the old. Unbelievable. Where is it going? Naqash o naqsh, katib o khat, bani o bana, budo nabud, zat o sifat, hasti o fana, Adam malak, zameen o falak, gard o kimiya, dunya o deen, husud o qidam, banda o khuda. और सब शाहिद इमाम शहे मशरक़ैन हैं. They are all a witness to what is happening to Hussein. सब शाहिद इमाम शहे मशरक़ैन हैं और जब तक खुदा का मुल्क है मालिक हुसैन है.